The ash woods weren't on any map. If you asked anyone in town, they'd tell you the same, stay out. Everyone had their reasons. The old-timers would mutter about the strange lights people saw at night, while kids dared each other to go in and bring back proof of the ritual stones. There was talk of strange creatures, of lost travelers, of shadows that followed you out. But no one had ever come back with proof, because no one ever dared go more than a few feet in. Except my friend Ben. Ben wasn't scared of anything. If someone told him not to go somewhere, he went there just to prove he could. One October night, he convinced a small group of us to join him on a campout near the ash woods. It was cold, pitch dark, and the forest loomed like a black wall. I told him it was a bad idea. He laughed, called me a chicken, and somehow I ended up going along with the plan. It was me, Ben, his girlfriend Sarah, and my cousin Kyle. We pitched a couple of tents right on the edge of the forest, and Ben pulled out an old, faded book from his backpack. He grinned, proud of his discovery. "Found it in my grandpa's attic," he said, flipping through the cracked leather cover. The book was ancient, the pages yellowed and brittle, covered in handwritten notes and sketches. "What is it?" Kyle asked, intrigued. "Just some old journal. I think my grandpa used it when he was a kid to keep notes on weird stuff he found in the woods." "Look." Ben pointed to a page with a sketch of what looked like a stone altar in a clearing. Around it were drawn small symbols, spirals, lines, and strange, angular shapes. My stomach turned as I read the words beneath the drawing. Underscore, beware the ritual stones of ash woods. Underscore. I told Ben that we shouldn't mess around with this stuff. But of course, that only made him more interested. He turned the page to another note, handwritten in a shaky scrawl. Underscore, speak not the names, summon not the keeper. Under the light of the half moon, keep away. Underscore. Ben grinned. "Look what night it is. A perfect half moon. Dude, seriously." I was trying to make light of it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were about to mess with something ancient and dangerous. But Ben was already on his feet, shining his flashlight into the dark woods. "Let's find it." So we went, trudging through dense undergrowth, the air growing colder and heavier with every step. Ben led the way, flipping through his grandpa's journal, using rough sketches and notes to navigate. Finally, we reached a clearing. And there, in the middle, stood the stones. 5 of them, arranged in a circle, each as tall as my shoulder, their surfaces etched with those same strange symbols. In the center was a flat stone altar, dusted with what looked like the remains of charred wood or ash. Sarah laughed nervously. "This is definitely creepy. Let's get a picture and go back, okay?" But Ben wasn't done. He scanned the journal, muttering something to himself. Then, in a loud voice, he read out a phrase I'll never forget. Underscore Frathna, guardian of shadows, we summon you to the stones. Underscore. The moment the words left his lips, I felt the air shift. The temperature dropped fast, so cold that I could see my breath. The trees seemed to grow taller, casting darker shadows that stretched toward us like clawed hands. "I don't think you should have done that," I whispered, backing away from the altar. Ben laughed, but it was hollow. His confidence was slipping too. And that's when we heard it. A sound like breathing or wind blowing in slow, rhythmic gusts. But there was no wind. We stood still, frozen in place, listening as the breathing grew louder, more human. It was coming from the shadows behind the stones, moving, circling us. Did you bring anyone else out here?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. Ben shook his head, his face pale. The shadows grew deeper, almost pitch black, and I caught a glimpse of something moving within them, a figure hunched over, with long twisted limbs and eyes that glowed faintly, like embers in the dark. I thought I was imagining it, until Kyle gasped, backing into me, his eyes wide with terror. The figure stopped at the edge of the clearing, just beyond the reach of our flashlight beams, staring at us. Its face was indistinct, shifting like smoke, and it made a noise, a low, guttural rumbling sound that reverberated through the ground, filling me with a deep, primal fear. Ben tried to speak, but his voice broke. He managed a weak hello and took a step forward. The figure let out a screech, horrible, high-pitched sound that made my ears ring, and in an instant, it vanished, melting back into the shadows. The forest fell silent again. Did anyone else see that?" Sarah whispered. We all nodded. Ben was already backing away, muttering, "This was a bad idea, a really bad idea." He turned and ran, and the rest of us followed, crashing through the undergrowth, feeling the weight of something following us, pressing in from all sides. When we finally stumbled back to our tents, we were gasping for breath, but no one dared look back. We crawled into our tents, silent, unable to sleep but too afraid to go back out into the open. But that wasn't the end. Around 3 in the morning, I heard it, the sound of footsteps, slow and heavy, circling our camp. They were joined by that same ragged breathing and a low hum that rose and fell, like someone chanting a broken, cursed melody. I stayed still, too terrified to move until dawn broke. When I finally dared to unzip my tent, Ben was gone. We searched everywhere, calling for him, retracing our steps back to the clearing. But he wasn't there. Only the stones remained, silent and unmoved, their symbols faintly shimmering in the pale morning light. The police organized a search party, but they never found him. They chalked it up to an accident, that he must have wandered deeper into the woods and gotten lost. But I knew better. I knew he hadn't just wandered off. I've had nightmares ever since. In them, I'm back in that clearing, standing at the altar, and I can see Ben just beyond the stones, reaching out, his face twisted with fear. But he's not alone. The shadow figure stands beside him, hunched and grinning, its ember eyes fixed on me. And every time I wake up, I hear the chant, a broken, cursed melody echoing in the darkness of my room, reminding me of the last words in the journal. _, those who summon the keeper never leave. _.